What did your father teach you about running the business?
He let me learn on my own, fail on my own, and succeed on my own.
What do you see as the biggest changes since starting at Barnes?
The biggest changes? Oh goodness, we've come a long ways. When I originally came with Barnes, we had two locations, Barnes Downtown and Barnes Brookwood. And the downtown store basically sold everything. We had pet supplies, saddles, bridles. We had very little home equipment. We had one whole wall which was just full of ethnic hair products. And that was our #1 OTC selling item. So it's changed quite a bit. The Brookwood store now is a different story. It had a fountain in it, had a short order cook, we had French fries and all kind of lunch type stuff. And of course your traditional pharmacy at that time.
All kinds of changes. I mean, we had a bookstore when I started that Miss Barnes ran, a fountain at the Brookwood store, and then the growth of going to to Florida, now to Alabama, different product lines that's changed over time.
Charlie started taking more and more over, and he'd run inventory list of like the products on the shelves, how many we sold of each, and he started slowly saying these products aren't selling. Walmart was coming in, and he had a vision of just, if we don't change, we're not going to make it.
What were the first big changes in technology?
Our first computer system was 1978 for the pharmacy, and that was a pretty significant change. But probably the biggest one that I remember the most was the first electronic calculator. My mother was the office manager, and they were trying to improve the efficiency of the office, and Lee Office Equipment was trying to sell her a $3,500 electronic calculator. And my mother and father pondered over that and pondered over that and pondered over that. And finally they made the decision, and they just horrified that they were spending $3,500 for an electronic calculator that won't do as much as the $2.99 calculators in my shirt pocket today. I'll never forget that. Because prior to that, we had the hand-cranked ad machines.
And what special memories do you have working for Charlie III?
So I worked for Charlie III for probably 20 years. And he and I had a good relationship. We worked wonderful together.
See, for one thing though, it's a joy to me to think of the time that I first started working here, at the age Charlie was, and to see him come up and reach the point and the status in life that he is now, it's just a good feeling.
How has Charlie III affected your life on a personal level?
My oldest son, Jack, was 2. I think it's about 82. And my second son, which is Stan, was 6 months. I got a phone call from my wife, said she could not locate my kids, or Jack, my oldest one. And so in that process, I called Charlie up and said, Charlie, Jack's missing. I need to go home and see what's going on. So as a mother would do, she panicked and called the police and all. But when I got there, we looked all around, and we did find Jack underneath a playpen or something other hid. He crawled under there, in a little 2-inch or 2.5-inch clearance, he was under there. But what surprised me the most about all that was Charlie III was there helping us find my boy. And that meant a lot to me, that he cared that much for us and our family.
What do you know about Charlie III that would surprise people?
Just very thoughtful. I mean, got a big heart. He's all business at work, usually, but there's a fun side to him too that nobody gets to see. I remember when he brought Ellen to the store when she was a baby, and how excited he was to see her.
Tell us about some special moments that you've experienced in your time with Barnes.
Part of the thing that stands out the most for me is an opportunity that actually came available back in '97, and that was about the time that the supervisor at that time left. And I was up at the hospital with my daughter when she was being born, and found out about the sudden departure. And I recall calling Charlie and talking to him about it, and sort of being caught off guard. And we hung up, and not long after that I had time to ponder what was going on. And I called Charlie back and I said, Charlie, I'm at the hospital, my daughter's been born, but if you'll give me till tomorrow, I'll come see you and we'll come up with a plan. And he surprised me and said, I'll see you tomorrow. And so I came the next day to see him, and we sat in the conference room in the first building. We were there from probably, I got there about 5 o'clock that night till almost 9 o'clock. And we just sat there and talked about where the business had been, where it is, where it was going, my ideas, my style, his style. And when we were done, he stood up, he reached out and shook my hand and said, well, I guess you're going to be in charge going forward. And that's sort of how that started.
What was a special Charlie moment for you?
I have a lot of Charlie moments, but I'm not sure I could share them all with you. You know, Charlie, the one thing about him, he's got the greatest examples in the world. He can really drive a point home. And I recall one time I was in a meeting with him and somebody else, and there had been a pretty significant blunder. And Charlie was trying to get this person to understand the significance and how it had let down several people. And this person just really wasn't, I don't think was sensing what Charlie was saying. And he said, let me make it clear for you. And he kind of raised his voice a little bit. And he said, imagine you and your family are on the interstate and your car broke down. And you get out and start walking for help, and a semi comes by and just crushes the car and kills everybody in there. That's how I feel about it. And it was such an example where we all paused and had to think that through, but he has a remarkable way of getting his point through.